Today's question, very simple one. Are subcommunications more important than verbals? No. However, let me ask the question in reverse. Are verbals more important than subcommunication? Also, no. They're not mutually exclusive, and one doesn't really work without the other, so you can't really ask which one's more important. It's like asking, I want to have a car, what's more important, the engine or the gears? Well, without the engine, nothing turns the gears. Without the gears, nothing takes the power from the engine to the wheels and makes the car move. You need both. And it's the same thing. If you have verbals and no subcommunication, you're going to be fucking weird. If you have subcommunication and no verbals, it's going to be pretty difficult. I mean, you could run an entire set without opening your mouth, maybe, I guess. I mean, it has been done, but you're fighting with worse than two hands behind your back, okay? The fact of the matter is you really need both, and they actually feed off each other.
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
And what do you say to your other nickname, the Merchant of Death?
That's not bad. Let me guess. Berkeley?
Brown, actually.
What I have found with body language or subcommunication, that sort of stuff, is that you can work on it to a certain extent, but if you become too focused on it directly, like you're worried about like, let me stand with my arm this way and let me stand straight and let me not sit down, and if you start thinking like that, usually actually your subcommunication and body language actually gets worse, because overly self-monitoring tends to make you insecure, tends to make you nervous, and leads to more bad body language. In fact, a lot of what is considered bad body language, you can get away with it if it's coming from the right place. So for example, there's a thing where as a guy, if a girl's sitting down, you're not supposed to squat down and talk to her. That's bad body language. But if a guy is confident and does it, he'll do just fine anyway. He'll do just fine in spite of it. And so the thing with body language is working on it directly leads to self-monitoring and actually isn't particularly effective. Working on verbal game directly is actually much more effective and much more useful. And so my general philosophy is to work on verbal game and work on attitude and let the body language kind of come. Now, if you have the opportunity to get feedback on your body language and you notice some glaring errors, of course, try and fix those. If you have the opportunity to video yourself in set and you notice some stuff, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing that, of course, try and fix that. But in general, if you have the right attitude and decent verbals, your body language will be acceptable even if it's actually bad. And so even though verbals and subcommunication or verbals and body language are both necessary, and even though they work, conjointly, you can't do one without the other, I found that on a practical level, it's usually far better to work on inner game, your beliefs, and to work on verbals, and let the body language kind of fall into line around those.
Well, Ms. Brown, it's an imperfect world, but it's the only one we've got. I guarantee you, the day weapons are no longer needed to keep the peace, I'll start making bricks and beams for baby hospitals.
You rehearse that much?
Every night in front of the mirror before bedtime.
I can see that.
I'd like to show you firsthand. My father helped defeat the Nazis. He worked on the Manhattan Project. A lot of people, including your professors at Brown, would call that being a hero.
And a lot of people would also call that war profiteering.
Tell me, do you plan to report on the millions we've saved by advancing medical technology or kept from starvation with our IntelliCrops? All those breakthroughs, military funding, honey.
You ever lose an hour's sleep your whole life?
I'm prepared to lose a few with you.
The kind of relaxed nature and creativity and openness and also confidence to have good verbals and deliver them well is going to also feed into having good subcommunication. So not only do you need both, neither one works independently, but both are also to some extent dependent on a third factor, which is your overall frame and your overall view of the interaction. And so they are kind of tied together in that way. So I don't typically specifically focus on subcommunication and body language directly very much, not because I don't think it's important, but because I found that working on it is largely ineffective and sometimes counterproductive. Usually what will happen in my experience is that body language and subcommunication catch up to your verbals and your beliefs. So I tend to work on those more so than the others. That said, in response to the actual direct question, which matters more, you can't really answer because you need both. So I hope you like that answer. Post your questions below if you want yours to be the next question I address. Take care. See you next time.